Hello, biology. The purpose of this video is to give you an opportunity to see the types of questions and the type of information that is going to be on the spring final. I'm going to add this to YouTube. Because you're actually watching a video, you can pause the video and restart the video as often as you want. I would recommend having your study guide available or having a piece of paper available, trying to write down the answers and remember as much as you can, and then checking the answers as well. But because you're able to pause the video and restart the video, I'm not going to be spending as much time waiting for your answers as I would in class. Additionally, I've got somewhere I got to be. All right, without further ado, here we go. The rate at which food, water, oxygen, and wastes are moved in and out of the cell's surface area, and the cell's volume are all limits to what? Answer coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Those are all limits to cell growth. Sticking with cell division. The phase of mitosis when chromosomes become visible and the centrioles separate from one another is called what? Second question, what is the correct order of the phases of mitosis and meiosis 1? Answers coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So if you need more time to think of what the answers are or to look up the answers, just pause the video before I show you the answers. All right, so it's prophase, that's the beginning phase, and the order is prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. If a parent cell has 32 chromosomes before mitosis, that's important. How many will daughter cells have after? And unlike mitosis, meiosis in mammals results in the formation of 4 blank gamete cells. And as the cell becomes bigger, more demands are put on the cell's blank. And I'm just realizing I made a mistake in this PowerPoint. I'm going to have to correct it here in just a second. Answer coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Yeah, that should be 32. You get the same number of chromosomes from mitosis. You get half the number of chromosomes from meiosis. Meiosis produces haploid, meaning half the chromosome number, and more demands are placed on the cell's DNA. All right, on to genetics. The likelihood that an event will occur or not occur is called what? Answer coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That's probability. Being tall or short is referred to as an organism's blank. If an organism is big T, little t, or little t, we're referring to those letter combinations as an organism's what? These two terms are frequently mistaken for one another. Answer coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So how you feel or how you appear is the phenotype. Genotype is the symbols. It's the chemical symbols that we use to represent heterozygous or homozygous trait combinations or allele combinations. If a big T little t is crossed with a big T little t, what fraction of the offspring will be short? When Mendel crossed a white and black chicken, meaning a white chicken and a black chicken, some of the offspring were white and black speckled. This demonstrates what? And Mendel's principle of blank suggested that some alleles are dominant and some alleles are recessive. Answer coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, so if you go big T, little t times big T, little t, You're going to get 1/4 that are big T. That would be tall. 1/2 or 2/4 that are going to be big T or tall. And of course, 1 minus 3/4 is 1/4 that would be short. Co means together. So if you have black and white speckles together, that means codominance. And the principle of dominance suggests that some alleles are dominant and others are recessive. Homologous chromosomes, sex chromosomes, and autosomes can all be seen in a what? When Mendel crossed true breeding tall and short pea plants, all the offspring were tall. Why was this? So true breeding means big T times little t. And a blank blank can be used to predict the probable outcomes of genetic crosses. Different forms of the same gene are called what? Answer coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, a karyotype. Remember, that's a picture of all the chromosomes. The reason why they were all tall is because each of the genotypes had a big T. So the dominant allele made them all tall. Punnett squares, the tool that we use to figure out what the probable outcomes of crosses will be. And different forms of a gene are alleles. So, for example, a big T would be a dominant allele and a little t would be a recessive allele. Some more genetics. The physical characteristics of an organism are called its what? This actually might be a duplicate question, hopefully. If you didn't get it last time, you get it this time. Answer coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That'd be the phenotype, how you feel. That is a repeat question, actually. If an organism has two identical alleles for a gene, they are said to be blank. And variation in human skin color is an example of blank traits. Answers coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So two identical alleles, be that big T, or little t, they're said to be homozygous. And poly is the Latin root for many genes, polygenic traits. What letters or symbols are used to represent a recessive trait? When Mendel crossed a big T, and a big T, and short plants returned, this told him that the allele for tallness and shortness blanked from one another. And what process did Luther Burbank use to make a new line of plants? Answers coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, so you use two lowercase for a recessive trait. Obviously, a lowercase and an uppercase would be heterozygous, but you're still going to have dominant. And two uppercase would be dominant, but two lowercase for recessive. Segregated means the same thing as separated, but Mendel's law of segregation, so we use this word. And hybridization is what Burbank used to create new plants. All right, on to evolution. Which scientist observed variations in the characteristics of animals? That should be of animals. Give me a second. And plants on the Galapagos Islands. Answer coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That was Chucky D, or Charles Darwin. Blank is a result of the beneficial adaptations organisms have. Hint, it's the ability to survive and reproduce. A blank blank is the combined genetic material of all members of a population. Answers coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, so fitness is the ability to survive and reproduce, and a gene pool is all the genetic material of the members of a population. Mutations and crossing over are the two sources for blank blank. The theory of blank says that modern organisms have descended from ancient organisms. In Miller and Urey's experiment, the spark was meant to represent blank in the Earth's primitive atmosphere. Answers coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, so mutations and crossing over can lead to, they don't always lead to, genetic variation. And the more genetic variation you have in a population, the stronger that population is said to be. Organisms descending from ancient ones is evolution, and lightning was in the Earth's primitive atmosphere. In their experiment, they had to use an electrical spark to represent lightning. A group of individuals that can interbreed and produce fertile offspring make up a blank. For two new species to evolve from a single species, they must be blankly isolated. True or false, radioactive dating of rock samples is a method of absolute dating. And natural selection acts directly on what? Answers coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, so species, they can interbreed and produce fertile offspring. If they produce offspring, but that offspring itself cannot reproduce, then it is not the same species. For example, a horse and a donkey reproduce a mule, but a mule cannot have its own offspring. They must become reproductively isolated. That can happen through geographic isolation, temporal isolation, or behavioral isolation. True, radioactive dating is a method of absolute dating, and natural selection picks the characteristics of an organism that are successful to survive, and it does not choose characteristics of organisms that are unsuccessful and they die. All right, so it chooses the phenotypes or the actual seen characteristics. Down syndrome is an example of what? This is back to genetics. Your hint is individuals have 3 chromosome number 21s instead of 2 of them. And this process is caused by non-disjunction. This is an example of 3, 2, 1. It's called trisomy. One necessary condition for life on Earth was the presence of blank blank. If a parent cell has 20 chromosomes before meiosis, how many will the daughter cells have? Answers coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Had to have liquid water. Water is not enough. Water can be frozen, which you're not going to have any evolution in. Water can also be in the atmosphere, which you won't have any evolution in. We believe that bacteria in warm pools of water were where the first organisms evolved. In meiosis, you cut the chromosome number in half, so you get 10. If we were talking about mitosis, 20 would leave 20. This is a haploid condition. Mitosis produces a diploid condition. Diploid meaning di or two. In blank blank, allele frequencies change because of blank. Sorry, I know that that's very obscure. Daughter cells that come from mitosis are blank, and ones that come from meiosis are blank. Actually, I'm going to change this. Answer coming in 3, 2, 1. All right, so it's genetic drift, and it should be chance. Sorry. So genetic drift is really difficult to understand because things happen in nature that you would not necessarily expect. All right, and daughter cells that come from mitosis have all of them. They are diploid. Ones come from meiosis have half of them. They are haploid. And I'm sorry I'm making all these changes on the fly, but I want this Jeopardy to be as valuable a tool to you as possible and as accurate as possible. True or false? If an individual dies without reproducing, the alleles for its genes will not be contributed to the gene pool. Darwin viewed the fossil record as a detailed record of blank. Adaptive radiation, punctuated equilibrium, and extinction are all important topics in what? And Darwin and Wallace are given credit for the idea of blank blank leading to evolution. Answers coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. That is true. So if an organism dies, their genes are gone from the gene pool. Only if they reproduce and successfully reproduce do those genes stay in the gene pool. And that's what natural selection does, is if they die, it gets rid of, over time, many generations, it gets rid of those bad characteristics. Darwin viewed the fossil record as a detailed record of evolution. Sorry, that's a mistake. Sorry about that. All right. Macroevolution includes adaptive radiation, punctuated equilibrium, extinction, coevolution, convergent evolution. Those are all topics of macroevolution. And Darwin and Wallace. Remember, Wallace was the guy that was a fan of Darwin. He was doing his own research in the Southern Hemisphere, sent his paper to Darwin to get his ideas. And Darwin's like, oh, shoot. This dude's got exactly the same types of ideas I do. I better go public with this. Unfortunately, Wallace respected him a lot, and they went public together. Wallace always gave Darwin the majority of the credit. But the idea that natural selection, that's the process, leads to evolution over long periods of time. Random questions. Here's a genetics one. Mendel realized that alleles for seed, shape, and color did not influence one another's inheritance. This summarized his principle of blank blank. Answer coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's independent assortment, independent. They segregate independently of one another, meaning, and it depends on the genes, meaning that they will not influence one another. All right, the following are all ways blank blank is related to a species' fitness. An adaptation is any inherited characteristic that increases an organism's chance of survival, and the ability of an individual to survive and reproduce in its environment is called fitness. That's confusing. Sorry. All right. Which phase of mitosis and meiosis is when chromosomes gather at opposite ends of the cell and the new nucleus membrane begins to form? Answer coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Let me make this change. All right. Okay, so natural selection is related to a species' fitness because adaptations in any inherited characteristic that increases the chance of survival. Natural selection chooses those organisms with that advantageous adaptation or characteristic to survive, and those without to die. And telophase is the last phase of mitosis and meiosis 1. The big clue here is the nucleus membrane starts to reform. It starts to break down in prophase, but it starts to reform at the end in telophase. When Mendel crossed a red and white flower, the offspring were pink. What did this demonstrate? Darwin applied the theory of blank population, blanks, it's a person, population control to any population of organism, and the first organisms on Earth were likely what kind of organisms? Again, that second question, I'm looking for a name. Another scientist that Darwin had knowledge of. Answer coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, so that's incomplete dominance. Incomplete dominance is when you have a blend, okay? Neither red nor white were dominant. So you get kind of an in-between. Codominance is different. Codominance, both dominant traits are together. In incomplete dominance, incomplete in between. Incomplete in between, that's when you have neither trait is dominant and you have a blend or an in-between. Thomas Malthus had ideas about the human population being too big. Darwin was able to apply that idea to all living organisms, indicating that there's going to be competition, and that's where natural selection comes in. When there's competition, somebody's going to win and somebody's going to die. And then we believe bacteria were the first living things on the planet. Last questions. True or false? All of the following were findings of Mendel. Genes are passed from parents to offspring if 2 or more forms of a gene exist. Some are dominant and some are recessive. Different forms of genes segregate from one another during gamete formation. True or false? Blank is a result of an organism's advantageous adaptations. Most fossils form in what type of rock? And which phase of both mitosis and meiosis is a period of cell growth that occurs between cell divisions and is when DNA is replicated? This is when the DNA doubles, when the chromosome number doubles. That's the best hint I can give you. Answers coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, that is true. All of those are ideas of Mendel. Fitness is the result of an organism's advantageous adaptations. If you have good adaptations, you're going to be able to survive and reproduce. Sedimentary rocks are where we find fossils, and interphase is that period in between divisions. And the big clue is interphase is when the DNA gets doubled. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have for you. Again, use this in combination with your study guide. Maybe not a bad idea to take some of these questions and answers and put them on the cheat sheet that you guys get to bring to the test. Remember, 1 8.5 by 11 piece of paper on the front, or you can take a half sheet and put it on the front and the back. It has to be handwritten, cannot be typed. And of course, if you have any questions about the test or what you need to know or clarification on the study guide, send me an email this weekend, but don't send it late Sunday night because I ain't going to be checking my email late on Sunday night. All right, kids, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in class.